Well, we're here today for a special edition of the Creative Community at the Atkinson Gallery at Santa Barbara City College. We're going to look at the work of Allison Saar. So let's talk to Atkinson Gallery Director, Dane Goodman. So, Atkinson Gallery Director Dane Goodman, thank you for speaking with us. We're going to talk to Allison Saar about her fantastic exhibit today. But I'd love to get a little background. How did we get her, someone of this stature here at the Atkinson Gallery?
Well, a couple of years ago, I asked Allison to be the juror for our annual small image competition. And we know friends in common, and we've actually in the past done a couple projects together, but never really formally met. And so she came up and juried the show, and she was a great juror. And at the end of the day, I said, would you consider doing a show? And my idea was like, we'll do whatever she wants to do. And I'm happy if we just want to show prints and old work, and that's fine. Whatever, I know the town would love to see the work. But then the show evolved and turned to what you see, which is a full-blown sort of mini museum exhibition, almost like a miniature mid-career retrospective here. In American art, there's like, I would say, two major families. There's the Charles Peale family from the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they were all painters. Mostly sons, but there was one daughter, very well-known portrait, miniaturist, sort of still life painters. And then in the 20th century, there's the N.C. Wyeth, Andrew Wyeth, and Jamie Wyeth family, very well-known painters. But they're all back east, they all are painters, they all come out of the Northern European painting tradition. And they're all sort of more of a guy thing. I mean, there's women that are well-known painters, but when we think of them, we tend to think of the men.
Okay.
In around the 50s, we've got Allison's mother, Betty Saar, growing up in Pasadena. And then she has her children, and Allison has two sisters. One's a painter, one's a writer, and they're growing up in LA, 50s, 60s, 70s time period. So for me, this is a great emblem of America and who we are now. These other families, to me, represent sort of the past history of American art. And Allison's family represents where we are now, certainly this broad multiculturalism that's in her family. And this kind of also, it happens on the West Coast. And its nexus is almost out of more of a matriarchal, feminine viewpoint rather than a patriarchal thing. So I think these are something to take note of. In some ways, it's almost like the Marcellus family down in New Orleans with Ellis.
It's a jazz family, yeah.
Yes, jazz family. But he's like, here's Ellis, and he's raising his son, Winton and Bradford, and the other son who's a trombone player, but I can't remember his name. Same thing, this stuff is going on, and they're going on outside of what we've always been considered the mainstream area of America, which is the Northeast. So we have a whole new world viewpoint. And I think it's important to take note of that and be proud that it's happening on the West Coast.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dane, for bringing this show to the Atkinson Gallery.
You're welcome.